Welcome to Changing Suits. We're your hosts, Bal
and Taj, discussing the latest news, views, and general life for us Western Asians.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Bal.
And my name's Taj.
Today we've decided, sorry about that, a bit of a technical hitch there. Today we've decided to do a topic which I know a lot of listeners have been waiting for us to do. I know I have been waiting for us to do it, that's for sure. But we're going to be talking about mother-in-laws. Why are you silent, Taj? Like
I was going to go, oh, then it goes dead silent. Awkward.
Okay. Awkward. Well, you're the one that decided you wanted to do this, so you can tell us all about.
Come on, it's about time, and we know that it needs to be spoken about. It's a big topic in the South Asian community where, it just needs to be talked about. Why else do I need to give an explanation?
No, you don't need to give an explanation. I was just saying,
Thanks.
That's what our topic was. Anyway, so prior to getting married, I think the biggest, I was going to say problem, but the biggest thought that comes into a lot of women's minds is, do I want to do this? And I remember when I was looking, setting my sights on a good marriage partner, I remember there was one question on a fella, there's one question that I'd be asked by the person I was talking to, and it was, do you want to live with my parents, or would you want to move out? And obviously that was always the test question of, what's this girl actually like? Did you ever get that question?
Of course you did, because if you were the one that wanted to move out, you were the home breaker. Is that the right term? And if you were the one that was happy with living with your mother-in-law, then you were the girl to marry.
Or the backwards girl, depending on who you were talking to. Because if that person wanted to move out and you wanted to stay in, they'd be like, this girl is way too thissy for me, right?
That's true as well, because if you stay with your mother-in-law, it is considered to be thissy, and if you don't, it's considered to be.
It's not. I never just said mother-in-law. You stay with the full family, depending on what the family.
Well, the topic's the mother-in-law, but the in-laws.
Okay. So, what was your reply when someone would ask you that question?
I'd be like, I'm fine with that.
Fine with what? Moving out or staying in? What?
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer it directly, did I? No, I'm fine with staying in. I understand a family needs to stay together. All the dream world things.
It's going to be perfect.
All the Bollywood film stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. And I remember when I had this conversation once, I said, well, I don't know your family and they don't know me. So what kind of rubbish question is that?
Did you say that?
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. The question doesn't make sense. Like, how would I know what I want to do?
I wasn't that logical about it. I was like, yes, I'd want to stay. I'd want to be such a perfect daughter-in-law, which I thought I would be.
Oh, so obviously you're not?
I don't think there are many perfect daughter-in-laws. Even if you are perfect, I don't think it's good enough.
Okay, that sounds interesting. We'll get into that conversation, I'm sure. But so that was it was a really weird question. I never understood why people used to ask it. I just think it's a stupid question, right?
It was like we said, it was a tester question.
A tester question. Okay.
Yeah, because it kind of worked, like we just said, worked out what kind of person you were, what kind of family you were from.
I remember once I was talking to someone. I know this is totally going off subject slightly, but I spoke to someone, and the person had how many sisters was it? 5, 6, 7 sisters.
Oh my God.
Exactly. Coming from a family where there's 3 sisters, and I've been quite clear, I felt sorry for my brother, to be fair, because that question's going to come up. And I remember, because by this point I was really sick of the whole thing, so I just wanted to piss off the other person. I remember it. I felt really, well, no, I don't feel bad about it. But it was like, also, all your sisters aren't married? Like, why aren't they married? What's going on? When are they going to get married?
God, that's out of order.
It was out of order. I can see why that person said no to me. It's completely fair enough.
I was going to say, the funny thing is, if you were told a guy had sisters, you'd be like, oh God. But like you said, we're 3 sisters, and we said we'd feel sorry for the person that came into our family as well. Not because we're like the 3 evil witches or anything, but just the just the whole thing of the sister and sister-in-law sort of thing, the dynamic.
Yeah, but then we've always said we sort of overcompensate. Well, we've got to ask our sister-in-law, obviously, how much we compensate. She'd probably be like, no, they're still bitches.
We will do one day.
Yes, we will get her on here. We just haven't got her doing it, kicking and screaming yet. Okay, going back to it. So yeah, the fear of when you're about to get married is also always going to be, and every time that I've spoken to my friends is, oh, I don't know what my mother-in-law is going to be like, right?
Because because the mother-in-law is the deal breaker, because when you get into the household, although it should be the wife and the husband, which it is, but not to the percentage it is of what the in-laws are like. Because like they say, you marry the whole family, and damn you do.
But see, the thing is, when like I got married, well, before, it was quite nice actually. My sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and Sook were actually like, this is what our mum's like, right? So they gave me a rundown with the fact that they would have thought that it would have been a deal breaker, obviously. No, I'm joking, I shouldn't say that. But to be fair, again, I think they overcompensated because I get on really well, touch wood, really well with her. So sometimes it's the perception from as a child, like the children as well. Like I know what my mum's like, for example, and the positives and negatives. Not that I'm going to admit it, obviously. Don't want
But
my
the thing
sister-in-law.
is,
Don't want our sister-in-law to have a list on her.
but the thing is, with every relationship, there's going to be ups and downs. There are. But when you're married, the ups and downs are more magnified when it's the in-laws. Because if your mother-in said, if your mum said to "To beef gufan," you'd
Yes,
be
which
like,
she
"Yeah."
regularly does.
She'd be like, "Yeah, you're right, mum." But if your mother-in-law said it, oh my god, hell would break loose.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, actually, I get that quite a lot, and then I get a laugh afterwards. Usually not from me, though. To be fair, even though they.
but in a normal situation, I'm not saying you're not normal. That is the case. That with your own mother, you'd be like, you duck water off a duck's back. But with a mother-in-law, it'd be, because would it be a conniving thing for them to say?
I suppose it comes down to how long you've been married and what kind of relationship, obviously, you have with your mother-in-law. Because if it happens, obviously, on day one of your vehicle, if you're like, what?
Well, yeah, that would be wrong.
That's pretty wrong. And don't get me wrong, I've heard that's happened before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just before the marriage, just like, oh, meriti, vango, that kind of crap, innit?
Yeah.
Right? And then the next day it's like Cinderella, Cinderella. Joking. So
Yeah,
I
but
have
it
had
is
that
pretty much that case. You're right.
but that is, that has happened in cases, and
Yeah.
that's where you're like, shit has hit the fan, sort of thing, right?
So, should we reel backwards again? So the expectations of the married life and what marriage is about, and the mother-in-law. There's all these things like do roti paka sekla kosh sekla, learn something, because when you go to your mother-in-law, she's like, you didn't learn anything, you didn't know anything. So already there's a build-up of what is expected from the mother-in-law, that there's going to be these high expectations. You better meet them. I bet
Yeah,
you're not going to meet them.
but don't you think that also works in the negative when you used to hear that sort of thing? Because at any time I used to hear that, I'd be like, I'm not doing it just for that reason.
Well, yeah, because mum used to all the time say seklo seklo, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Well, Granddad used to say to me, I remember him saying it. He goes, "Look, learn how to do it. Whether you do it or not is another question. At least you know." And I do actually agree with that. I
Yeah.
think you should know as much as you can. Whether you show someone or not is another question.
Yeah, because I didn't learn how to make dhal for the first time. No, forever. Like until after I got married. I used YouTube and used to phone my mum.
But then this is okay for most things. I mean, I'm not great at cooking, which we know, and I haven't learned a lot because I don't enjoy it, so I don't do it. But the basic things like roti and dal, like why would you not learn it before? Because you know what's going to happen after, and that it is going to happen,
Because
right?
I didn't learn it.
But why?
Because I couldn't be bothered. I didn't
But then
want
you
to.
knew you were going into a situation where it was highly likely that you probably would hear it later.
Because
She doesn't know how to do it.
when I was single, I thought I was going to be the person that was like, no, I'm not going to do this. Don't tell me to do that. But things quickly change because you're like, pick your battles.
Yes. And the roti one
Because
wasn't about to pick.
no, because what happens is when you're in that mindset of, for example, I said that I'd never change my surname, and I did. I think it's, life situations and your perception changes through when you go through life. I mean, for example, another thing that parents or grandparents used to say, you'd say, oh, I want to do this. I don't know. I can't think of an example. Oh, I'll get a pet. Nay, Durande, when you get married, get it then. I want to do this. No, when you get married, do it then. It was like this thing, like this sky high thing. The marriage was where you were going to get everything. No, do it when you get married.
I don't remember that bit, to be fair.
But to be honest, you don't remember anything.
All right, you say this in every single time. Stop. You gotta stop. Although saying that, where I said that you should learn these things, after you get married, you have to do, make that sweet dish or whatever.
Oh God,
right?
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that. And
but Mum never told me about that. My best friend, all right, that's a bit childish to say, but she told me about that, and I was like, no, it's probably just happens in certain families. But it did happen for me, where I had to make custard. I didn't know how to make. I know it's a simplest
custard.
thing.
You take it out of a tin.
No, I there was powder, and I had to make it, and I made lumpy custard, and I thought, oh crap.
You just sieve it out after, just make sure no one's in the kitchen.
No, but now I know how to make custard. 10 years later.
But you should get the Devon tins. I'm telling you, they're so nice.
Yeah, but I didn't go out shopping, did I? It was wake up, make the sweet thing.
But isn't it after a few days, like, what is it, 40 days or something like that, after you get married, you get to wait a certain amount of time? Okay. All right. In
some cases
like that. All right. So okay, fine. Maybe you should taken it with you, like, after you got married.
I didn't know it was going to happen. I don't think Mum knew it was going to happen either, because
she would have packed.
I think it's an in thing that came from films or something like that, because I don't think it generally happened.
Okay, so going back to what happened to me, obviously for work I was going back and forth from West London to East London, so every day I was going there, and I'd basically, this is a secret that no one knows, so here we are, listeners. I learned whatever I needed to cook the day before, and then by chance I knew how to do it the next day.
Of course you did. And why didn't you learn, madam, before? Because why didn't you make roti and dhal? You knew you needed to make it. So what happened to you now? As you smile.
No. All right, fine.
The shoes on the other foot or something like they say?
Yeah, no, I agree. But
do you now?
Okay, all right, chill, Bill. So basically, I had to make sweet rice. Now you asked me to make it now because I haven't made it in ages. I have no idea how to make it. I made it the day before because I knew I'd have to do it the next day, and by chance, and trust me, everyone thought I was the best cook ever because they came out really well. They just didn't know I learned the day before, and that happened with pizza dough as well. I remember, and then there was kheer. I learned the day.
So pretty much everything. So what was that little?
Well, roti and dhal. I mean, you're going to have to eat roti and dhal. How much do you eat?
What are you going to make roti dhal pretty much every day? It sounds like, in your little imaginary world.
Everyone knows how to make sabji. I'm sorry, you do, right?
I do now.
Okay, saying that, there's certain things even now where I'm like, shit, I don't know how to make this, and I get nervous if people stand around me in the kitchen. Right? I mean, my mother-in-law was here last weekend, and that's what happened. I was like, no, you need to go sit down. And that was partly because I don't want to hop around me. I didn't know how to make it. I was just guessing as I was going along. It tasted rubbish, but she stood in the kitchen with me because she felt bad that I was in the kitchen making food. I'm like, no, you.
But the thing is, she's a good cook as well, so I don't think.
Well, after that, it's just like, look, all right, how do you do this? When shall I put this?
I hate it when you have to ask. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you.
Yeah. But so even now, I still don't like people hovering around me in the kitchen. That's why I'm like, look, I'll cook this myself, just so I just chuck it all in and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't like people hovering around because I don't want that judgment. Your roti's not round. My roti is still not round. I don't care. I can't make roti. I can make parathe, but I can't make roti, and I don't care, and I own up to it.
Oh.
It's there.
So moving on, you've had the fear of before you got married of what your mother-in-law's going to be like, the fear that everyone's put inside of your head. You get married and we've gone past the first few days. By the way, I went straight on to honeymoon straight after I got married because I didn't want to. That was the right thing to do. Anyone that is about to get married, go on honeymoon the next day, so you could have to deal with everything else when you get back.
Yeah, I agree. We went honeymoon pretty much. Oh no, I think we waited a week.
Yeah, that's too long. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Yeah, so you've learned how to cook the rare meal that you need to cook, the one thing. But life. So yeah, you come back from honeymoon and that's when obviously life begins, right?
Does it ever?
I bet it was. But it's just like just normal. But again, I've discussed this before about a whole marriage thing, where it's a case of I felt like it was completely different as soon as I got married. I don't even remember what it was like before, to be fair. The other thing is, once you've got married, been in honeymoon or whatever, it's a different feel. Whether you've known the person for years or whether it's not been for that long, it is a different feel. And it's funny because the fear still is there of what is your mother-in-law. Even now, till this day, it's a case of, oh, what is your mother-in-law going to say? It doesn't matter about anyone else because everyone else tends to fall into line with whatever they need to get into line with, right?
But why is that? Why is that the case? Why is it that we see the mother-in-law as this big dragon?
But the thing, I think,
in many cases, it is the truth. But why is that?
Well, if you're going into a household, and this is if you're living with your in-laws, they say that whoever rules the kitchen rules the house or something.
I think that's true. You know that?
I think it's true as well. This is why I'm never going to rule the house. I don't even try. Because there's no way.
It's because there's control of the meals, there's control of everything pretty much. You don't be nice to that mother-in-law, you ain't getting no food.
But this is what happens with, it's not even your mother-in-law, it could be your sister-in-law, whoever is in the kitchen, and there we've been completely sexist where it's all the women. I mean,
but it is true. Let's be
the
truth. Yeah, let's be truthful about it. We say that it should be men and women that cook, but a majority of the time it's still women.
Yeah.
Why pretend that we're
especially if you're living with your in-laws, right?
Yeah.
If you're outside, then it might be slightly different. On the odd occasion, he might move his ass and do something. But yeah, that is the case.
Well, the next thing is you've got this situation of you've got this daughter-in-law that's coming, and then you get the whole dressing up thing. You want to make your daughter-in-law look beautiful because you need to display her to the world. This is what we brought back with us. Is she pretty? It is pretty much that. So now the community expectation of, oh, who they got married to? Is it someone beautiful? Because that's all pretty much it is. Yeah. Do they talk nicely? So then there's that community expectation. And then there's that mother-in-law expectation that you need to be perfect. You need to talk perfect. Your son might be a little git and swear, but you better, because if you don't, your words are going to get picked up. You don't say hunji, hunji. Oh my God, you're the worst person in the world.
There was one thing actually. I am, like with dad, we don't say daddy G or things like that. I just say dad, innit? It's a bit more, I suppose, a bit less respectful. But then that's what I'm used to. So I found, like, even here, I'm just saying mum because that's what I'm used to. Is that really disrespectful?
I think that's just, we used to say daddy G when we were younger.
Only to Sas Kutnee daddy G. After that, it was just dad.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't it? And even Marcy G, we don't call Marcy G or Pua G.
Maybe we're just really disrespectful.
No, but that's one thing I picked up when I got married. I was like, shit, now I have to get used to saying G at the end of everything.
Which is a nice thing to do because we should get our kids to do that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. We should learn something. I'm not always right, apparently.
Those parents of ours.
I know.
Damn, they're rude.
No respect. The other interesting one is if you and your partner have a fight. Like, what is the dynamic?
Well, the dynamic is no one should step in, because when someone does step in, that escalates the fight. And sometimes that does happen. Notice how we don't talk about the father-in-law.
Oh, yeah, but all men are just not part of this whole equation. And we've discussed this before, and when they are part of the equation, then you're like, why are they getting involved? What
How
are they,
dare
woman?
a man speak like that? Yeah, it is.
Right?
That is right. Sexist as it is, it's true, that's what's said. What a
But
Burian
then,
Wango ball there. Why is he getting involved in Burian's business, the women's business?
but then the other part is going back to the fact that there's that fear of, oh, the mother-in-law is going to be horrible and this, that, and the other. There are cases where the father-in-law is not very nice, no, I'm joking, but where the mother-in-law's fine. And it's really like, I remember I was talking to someone I know, and she gets on really well with her mother-in-law and whatever. And her father-in-law wasn't that great. And great to her. I mean, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. But it was a case of, oh, okay, that's different. Your mother-in-law's actually nice. That's interesting. Not that I'm not saying mine's is. I mean, like I said, I get on well with her, but it's always a different spin on things that you actually get on with them.
Do you think that it makes a difference when you live with the mother-in-law and live like out of the house? Because I think if you live out of the house, it kind of gives you that space. You do your own thing, and you get together, and that
Yeah.
might make your bond closer.
I again,
Because in a
everyone.
way, you miss that relationship.
Yeah, I think that I found that.
I found that,
Um,
to be honest.
but again, like although I took the mick out of people that asked whether I was going to stay in or move out or whatever. Like I have no problem staying in. I mean, if anything, I remember when my little one, when I was pregnant with her, I was literally going from our house to my in-laws' house and going to sleep the whole day there, and then coming back. And then I got to a point where I was like, "This is ridiculous. Why don't we just stay there?" And it was only because Sook said to me, "Should we go home now?" Otherwise, I'd still be there. To be fair, which I'm sure everyone else would be happy about. So, like, I get comfortable wherever I am. To like, as long as no one's horrible to me, I can get comfortable.
I think with
But
me and my mother-in-law, we've got very set ways of doing things. So
see, I'm so flaky. Anyone can do whatever they want. I'll be like, yeah, that's cool. I'll fall into line.
with us, I found that we did have that bit of when we were living together, but now we're living apart. We like having our little gossip sessions.
But
It's like
that's
we look
nice.
forward to it.
Yeah, but that's good though. That is one thing. I mean, with the fact that I'm slightly further, and yes, I see her on the odd occasion. We do sit down and have a nice conversation. But that is one thing I do miss because I used to. That's what builds a bond, right? The communication. And if it's not there, then there's not really a relationship there,
Well, let's
right?
go back to what we were talking about the mother-in-law getting involved in the middle of an argument. Like I said, I don't think they should. I don't think it's right, because then that escalates an argument and that makes it worse, because it's the same thing as water off a duck's back for if your parents do it, and then it's different if the in-laws do it. Because
Mm.
then are they doing it for your own good, or are they doing it for their son's good?
Yeah,
That's,
no, I do agree. I think it helps people just back out of any fight. Firstly, don't be the cause of the fight, which, on many occasions, it's usually that is going to be the cause of the fight. But if you're not the cause of the fight, don't get involved. That's definitely my advice to any mother-in-law out there and any in-laws, because you're still going to remember that involvement, whereas you won't remember that involvement from your husband and what he was saying, I guess, right?
yeah, that's true, and I completely agree.
And the other part of it is obviously who's right in that sort of argument. So if you and your husband was to have a fight, whose side would your mother-in-law take? Because I've been in situations where I know that that I know that your husband's wrong, but it's just a case of, are you going to make it sound like it's okay what they're doing, whatever the situation is?
But that's it. In some certain situations, like I said, the son can be the worst person in the world, and your mistakes will be pointed out, not the son's. And it's like, oh, you're always moody. Oh wait, but your son's always moody. We don't remember that, do we?
But this is what I'm saying, like trying to justify how the other person is, trying to justify that your son's right is wrong as well, right? especially if they are wrong.
Especially if they're wrong, if they're going
And then
off.
sometimes I'm just like, because I've been in that situation where it's like, oh, come on, you're not going to give me that line, are you? Right?
Well, there's been many women in the South Asian community where their husbands have had affairs and it's overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet, even the daughter-in-law is seen to be the worst person in the world, even though their own son is going round doing whatnot. But yet, still, he's seen as this amazing person.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. If the husband is wrong, they're wrong. But do you not find that it's sometimes very hard to put your family, your blood relative, in that negative anyway? Like,
Well, I think the
blood's
truth
still
is the
blood.
truth. No, but I
Yeah.
think the truth is the truth. I
Yeah,
don't think
in a
you should
black
hide
world,
from that.
in a
And
black
if
and white world.
yeah, but the thing is, if they're wrong and you don't want to say they're wrong, then just stay out of it. You don't need to make out as if your son's gold.
Yeah. Yes. In that case, silence. But is that wrong
Exactly.
as well then? Yeah, but is that wrong as well?
And
Because then
also,
you're
it's
no,
funny
but
because the daughter-in-law stays. No, that is wrong. Of course, it's wrong. But the daughter-in-law, in many occasions, will not involve her own family because the in-laws are seen as her own family. So she's alone in fighting this battle against everyone.
mm.
And then sometimes it's make or break that she probably the worst point that the daughter-in-law gets at, or the daughter in this case gets at, will she involve the family? Because then that is, oh my god, the marriage is about to end. That's when you call your own parents.
Not really. I think things have changed. I
I
don't think.
don't think they have.
Mm.
I think it's still the same, that the daughter will only call her parents. She doesn't want to upset them, etc. And
But
she'll
then,
just try to deal with it herself.
what do
But
you
you
think
live
about
in
that?
this la-di-da world, Bal.
No, but what do you think about the line? Okay, going back to it of, oh, I'll treat you like a daughter. I mean, do you think, all right, fine, it's not exactly like you. I mean, it's never going to be you're my daughter. That's just not going to happen, right? I very, I don't think it happens. I don't even think very really. I think it just doesn't
It
happen.
happens when you're out in the community in public.
Oh yeah, pretending. Which is why you can say to someone else, "Oh yeah, she treats her like a daughter," but probably not, right?
Exactly.
But where do you think that stop is then? Why isn't it happening like that?
Because again, blood is thicker than water.
Mm.
It's easy to point out mistakes in others than your own. Because then you're pointing out the mistakes about your bringing up your child, then, aren't you?
Okay, so the other problem is if you do get into a fight with whoever it is, but in this occasion, let's say it's the daughter-in-law versus the mother-in-law, right? Everyone's got their own point of view as to how the story went down. I mean, we've seen it doing this podcast where we've been through exactly the same experience, but we've seen it in two completely different ways, which I never realized until we started doing this podcast. But it's the same thing with a fight between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. She's seen it one way, the daughter-in-law's seen it a different way. And from their own perspectives,
The son's
they
always
were
right.
right. Not the son's always right, but they're always no. I mean, mother-in-law and
Okay.
daughter-in-law have a fight.
Well, they're not going to turn around and say, "Oh, you're right." Mata Galtsigi. How many times are you going to hear that? Who admits that they're wrong? I want to know this person.
Well, don't
They're a
ask me today. I
saint.
mean, I've had one of those situations today where I've realised how hard it is for some people to say sorry. So not that I'm saying this about my in-laws, but yeah, yeah, you're right. People don't know how to say sorry, and I think it's such a character flaw. I really think it's a character flaw.
But then that's admitting that you're wrong if you say sorry.
So what? And what?
People don't want to do that.
I've literally been in this case today where someone is willing to ruin their life, like literally, I'm not even kidding, ruin their life because they don't want to say sorry. I've
Well,
literally
that's
been
just
through that today.
stubbornness
It's
and
complete stubbornness.
stupidity.
Yeah, I agree. So I think people should learn how to say sorry. The problem I've got is saying sorry too quickly.
That's it. I say sorry too quickly as well, but I blame the parents for that.
Okay. All right. So how about turning it around? Now we've seen it from the daughter-in-law's perspective of being horrible, the mother-in-law's horrible. But then we've got a mother who also has a daughter-in-law. And we will, at some point, as promised, We will get our lovely sister-in-law to come on here, and she can tell us all our faults.
No, but then we say to our mum, oh, you know, I think we have said to our mum, oh, you know, everyone's got their own ways. Be mindful.
But then, do you think that's wrong in itself, that we even say anything? Because it's not our relationship to get involved in.
But we just want to make sure it's harmonious.
But this is the thing, from our perspective, we're seeing it as trying to make it harmonious, but every relationship has its ups and downs. So why are we trying to stop the downs? Because that's part of their relationship. That's how they will build their relationship.
I think you are right, but we just don't want conflict.
Mm.
And we don't want it to be that either party suffers.
But then,
you're right. That's probably what, like, we might see if I had a sister-in-law, for example. If she stepped in, I'd probably be thinking, bloody hell, she's always stepping in. It's not her business. So I see where you're coming from. Why are you involving yourself in something that's got nothing to do with you? Because this isn't your household anymore.
But again, if your brother-in-law did it, because I've got a brother-in-law and I've got a sister-in-law. If your brother-in-law did it, then what would you think if they stepped in?
I still wouldn't think it's right, but then it's accepted, isn't it? Because remember, the household that you're in with the in-laws, that's whoever can step in. And it's okay, but the girl's side can't step in. That is the way, but that is wrong. But that is the way that the community is. And something that needs to change. Boundaries.
Okay, so we've discussed if the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law have a fight, but should the husband then get involved? That's the other part.
Yes, because he should try to calm the fight down. Contradicting what I just said, yeah.
No, but it's not contradicting, because then that is the person in the middle, right? It's different. So if your partner and you have a fight, then you don't think that a third party should get involved, which I agree with. But this one's not a third party. This is the person in the middle. But do you think men are big enough and old enough to actually control the situation?
Well, this is the thing, and this is something about men's mental health, and I completely understand it's hard on them because they are stuck in the middle because they don't want to upset their mother, they don't want to upset their wife, mainly probably because they get roti off their wife. Let's be honest, that's probably why. And they're stuck in the middle, and you can see why they feel so stressed and pressured. And
you know what? That's an interesting point, actually, you've made. I didn't even think of it like that, about the men's mental health side of it.
Yeah. And you can understand why you do have men that just crumble under the pressure, because it is pressure. Trying to balance. And the thing is, you'll say, man up, you should be able to balance both sides and you should be able to hold the household. That's what they're told. Man up, you should be able to hold the household together. Again, another affecting a man's mental health.
That is a really interesting point. Yeah. No, you're right.
Because we hear a lot about women's, like, the arguments or whatever, and there is obviously that's impact on women's mental health. Damn right it is. Women have to go through a lot, changing their house, moving away from their family, not telling their family what's going on in the household, even if they're going through the worst situation ever. But then also spinning it around, the man, in many situations, not always, because the man might actually team up with his mum and be that git to the daughter-in-law. It's all to do with the dynamics.
And it comes down to who rules that kitchen then.
It's all about the kitchen.
It's ridiculous, right? A large part of it is that. Like, who's
do you think it is? I don't think it's... I think you're putting too much emphasis in that.
You're the one that said it initially. I'm just agreeing with you.
No, you're the one who said the kitchen thing.
Oh, did I? Okay,
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it in a situation where, obviously, my own situation. Yeah, I've had conflict on the odd occasion, and just seeing how my husband, well, to be fair on him, he doesn't really get involved, which is really annoying sometimes. But then that's not a good thing either, because that drives me crazy as well. But then I suppose if you make it a thing and he does get involved, then it's a thing, right? Whereas if you just let the two people carry on, it's not even a thing. I
think whenever you get a third party involved, it escalates the situation, because then it makes... You're right. So it does make it into a thing. No, I'm not saying that, because sometimes it needs calming down as well. So it's contradicting what I just said. But sometimes it could get to a point and you need that person to come in and say, look, let's step away from this. You're right. Would that happen in an Indian household or South Asian household? Let's step away from this and come back to it later and discuss it.
But then it comes back to, if you don't live in the same household, you're less likely to be in that conflict situation as well. I mean, look at Vajari Megan. I like bring up Megan.
Hell, not her again.
She comes back for the Platinum Jubilee. She does her thing. We don't know what fights happen, regardless of what the Daily Mail's saying. And then she goes back. I mean, it was pretty civil, I'd say. I think she did very well, even if no one else agrees with me.
Exactly. Move to another country. Keep the rift as wide as you can.
The rift, isn't that the fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the wrong thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's bring this to a conclusion. We all know that the mother-in-law can be that evil monster that everyone dreads before they get married. But on the very odd occasion, maybe they're not the evil monster. Maybe in this make-believe world, you actually get on with her. And you have a nice relationship with her. How nice would that be? Taj, you're just silent.
Oh, sorry. Did you want me to add a bit there? Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think it's, like I said, you build it up. You're let down sometimes. You're not let down. It's a relationship. It has its ups and downs, and sometimes it can have very low downs and some ups.
On the odd occasion. Okay, so on that point, we'll leave it on that one, because I actually don't know how to finish this one off with a nice little who was that guy that used to be the American talk show, Jerry Springer ending. So anyway, let's leave it there, and let's give some love to those mother-in-laws and mothers if you don't like your mother-in-law. And yeah, that's it. That's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.